Welcome to the Spare Room Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Wayne, and today I'm looking forward to speaking with our guest, Mamba Smith. Mamba is the Chief Hype Officer for NASCAR, and you may have seen him introducing your favorite drivers on race day. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, iFantasy Race. iFantasy Race is the leader in comprehensive advice on fantasy race day. If you want your statistics or anything that you need to make your fantasy racing team the strongest and defeat everyone in your league, follow iFantasy Race on Twitter or check out ifantasyrace.com. Right now, let's dive into our interview with Mamba Smith.
We're here today with Mamba Smith, the Chief Hype Officer of NASCAR. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm actually at Tri-County Speedway right now. So if you hear some cars in the background, that's what's going on. There's a little late model testing going on. The team that I race for, Lee Falk Racing, is testing with Tony Breidinger and Taylor Raymer. I think they're both testing today. So awesome. I just want to come up and show some support for my teammates. So
that's awesome, man. I remember I saw you at Toledo Speedway last year. You do hop in the car from time to time. I know you did Legends and you've done, I guess, ARCA as well too, and everything. What kind of do you just sporadically get those moments, or are those kind of pre-planned ahead of time?
A little bit of both. Toledo was I got a call from Billy Venerini, and they had a seat open, and I couldn't pass that up. I've always wanted to drive a Venerini motorsports car. You know, growing up as a kid, there's so much history there and legacy, and basically anyone has driven for him. And I just wanted to have an opportunity, and the opportunity arose. And I told Billy. Billy gave me, I think he called me at 5:00 on a Wednesday, and I was like, "How much time do I have to figure out if I can do this?" Because the race was the next week, I think.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can give you until noon tomorrow. And I'm like, noon tomorrow? I mean, we're not talking about $5,000, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay. And I hang up, and I was like, all right. And I text him back in 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm in. I was like, I didn't tell him I didn't have the money yet, but I was
we'll figure that out later.
Yeah, I'll figure that out later.
You take a chance like that. I mean, it's an opportunity that you never think, you never know if you're going to get again. And I've talked to a few other racers already that was kind of the thing, is it costs money to run those races. It's not like you just jump into a pool of cash. You're bringing it to the table. And that's what sponsorship.
It was super cool to be able to do that, and because of my relationships with Sunoco, I was already racing Phoenix. We had the flagpole buddy on the hood, and then Sunoco's on the quarters, and then Elliott's custom karts are always with me. So we were doing that in Phoenix, and then this came up 2 weeks before, and then because that was coming up, I went and tested beforehand. You know what I mean? It was a lot.
It's a whirlwind of things that can happen in a season, but it seems like you handle it really well, and it seems like you're really you're really liked in the garage. I can tell that just from the content you put out, the interviews you do, and it's just really cool to see you out there kind of living your dream. I mean, you have a saying, was it good?
Great day to be alive.
Great day to be alive. Yes, absolutely.
Shout out to Travis Tritt on that one. He made that song, "Great Day to Be Alive." So there it is.
Absolutely, that's a great way to live by. It's really inspirational to see that out there on the social media. You're really active about that, and just promoting a good mood. And I think that's exactly what's going to help the sport of NASCAR and other racing in general, because I can imagine you're going to get involved with a lot more than NASCAR with the personality you have one day. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
For sure. So I want to kind of dive into who you are, what started the passion behind what you do. What kind of give me a background of Mamba? Where'd you start from? How'd you grow up, and how'd you kind of get to where you are today?
Yeah, I grew up in Randolph, Vermont. I'm adopted. I've been racing since I was 4. We went to Thunder Road Speed Bowl up in Barrie, which is Ken Squire's old racetrack.
Cool.
When I was 3, I fell in love with it, and then a year or two later, my dad bought me a go-kart. And my dad did not know, he wasn't a racer. He was a race fan of sorts, but not he never worked on stuff. He was a carpenter. He had a flooring store, and so he had to learn. He had to learn how to wrench on go-karts and stuff. So he read chassis books and he got pretty good at it. I'm not gonna lie. Like
that's awesome.
We won a lot. We won a lot of races together, me and him. And probably if it wasn't for us winning early, I probably wouldn't be here because I don't do stuff I'm not good at. Like my dad wanted me to play golf, and I like golf, and I was like okay at it as a kid, but I'm too high strung of a athlete. Like I really wear my emotions on my sleeves, and that's it's a good thing. But in golf, it's probably not so much. So when I started throwing clubs at 7, that was kind of it for the golf. So,
that's the threshold. NASCAR doesn't make you throw things, so that's where you kind of fell in. Maybe you want to sometimes, but the things are heavier, and you probably know better than to throw them at people.
Yeah, like you definitely used to throw the donut, the little neck brace. I used to throw that as a kid. I never threw anything that was expensive though. Like never threw my helmet or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
So
that's a quick way to get in trouble for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So we did that. We won a lot, and then I raced Allison Legacy cars up north. Won a championship there, and then went late model racing. Back at Thunder Road. I went late model racing when I was like 16 or 17, which was kind of unheard of back then. Up there, like people didn't go. That wasn't the path. Like the path was four cylinder cars, and then 6-cylinder V6s, and then the V8 late models. So that was the path that we always had, but that's not the one I did. So it was a little different when I showed up at 16 racing, and they're grown men up there. You know what I mean? There's some really good racers, and they taught me a lot about the craft and bully ball, what bully ball really was all about. So, but the NASCAR diversity program, I tried out for that like 7 times in total.
I didn't know it took that long. Was it just that competitive with just the talent out there, or what the criteria was, like that type of thing?
I mean, like it was competitive, right? Like, I mean, Bubba Wallace was in the program, Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez, Sergio Pena,
you raced against all these guys, like
all these guys and girls through that. There was a lot of good people in it. I would say, if I was being honest, I would say I was always at worst in the top 10 at worst.
Hey, that's not bad. That's me and iRacing. I'm like, let's go, dude. Give me that 7th place.
At worst, we're top 10 out of like 30 people competing for 10 spots, and at best, I think on my best run, I was like second. To like Larson. Like when Larson was there, I was second to him. So, I mean, I would say that I got in on my 6th try, I think, because I did it. I got in for the 2015 season. The first year I went was 2009 for the 2010 season. So it took a good time, but in between that time, I also worked for the diversity program as a mechanic. So I moved to Charlotte. Yeah, I moved to Charlotte in 2011. I couldn't even read a tape measure, to be honest with you. I couldn't. Like, I could read the big line, the half line, the quarter line, but after
the carpenter's son couldn't do the tape measure. He didn't pick it up from dad at all.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't quite do it like that. And so I basically started sweeping the floors, man. And I think, I think people probably thought I was gonna quit and go back home, but what they didn't realize is I only did a one-way ticket. I wasn't going home. There was no going home. So it was we're gonna figure it out one way or another. So we did that and won a championship with Larson in the K&N series, which was great. And then I went and worked at Stewart Haas Racing in 13, 14, and 15. And then that's really when it happened. Like Stewart Haas started sponsoring me. Like Haas Automation gave me money to go put a late model together. A late model that was not even half. It was probably 20% built, but Bubba Wallace gave it to me. Bubba Wallace gave me this late model and like a bunch of parts. And we finally had the money.
Turned lemons into lemonade, baby. That's all it is. That's
we
all
had
it takes
the money.
Sometimes.
We
the
got
magic
the money.
Bubba-mobile. The Bubba-mobile.
That thing was listen,
do you still have it? Please tell me you still
No, I sold it. We sold it.
Damn.
We did sell it, but that car we ended up 38th in the nation at one point with that car.
Damn, I mean, that sounds really good for the nation. I mean, that's
I mean, like, so the way the national points works is like you're racing against everybody that's under the NASCAR sanctioning banner in the regional, like late models, modify, like
so it's a multi-class type. So it makes it. I mean, that makes it even more special that top 40 pretty much of all of those is insane. I mean, that's you have a great track record, literally, of success throughout. I mean, from the teenage years on, it seems like it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good. Like, I feel like I'm pretty decent. I tell people now, it's like if the race is 100 laps, for 80 of the laps, I'm tit for tat with probably my competitors. Like, I'm pretty close. But those other 20 laps is when I slip up, they don't slip up. You know what I mean? So like where I might lose 3 or 4 tenths, they might lose 1.5. And you do that over the course of 20 laps throughout any time, and like that's a big gap. So it adds up. So
you see the guys like Martinsville and everything. I mean, the nerves that have to be going on when you're coming to a green white checker, and I mean everybody wants that win. So no matter what, at that big of a track or at a coda, I mean just to keep the nerves under control, and like you said, one slip up and they're pulling away from you. You roast the right rear, you do one thing or another, and the whole balance of the car is thrown off. But I mean, it's awesome to hear that you have such great experience in so many different levels of racing, and the story that got you to where you are today. And one thing I was kind of curious about was, I mean, was there any points that you doubted yourself? I mean, was there nights? I mean, like you brought up Bubba. I know Bubba's really hard on himself, and he's a guy that really analyzes himself harder than I think anyone else does, which is insane. But do you feel like that's something that just it's hard to? I mean, it's not that anyone should get over that. That's a personality trait that makes you who you are. But do you think that's something that just maybe just holds you up beyond someone else who might not have as big of a problem with that?
Yeah, I mean for Bubba, I mean he really does hold himself at a different standard than I think that everyone else holds him at. 100%. Like, he expects to be great. Like, he has all the ability in the world to do that and to be a champion. And just it's really hard putting it all together. And people forget, like, when he lost a ride in the Xfinity Series driving the 6, he was 4th in points. Like, that's
tough to eat. I mean, you're like, proving yourself, and then they take the keys away,
enough.
And
it's not enough. So like he's been through it, but I think he's at a way better place now.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a amazing wife in Amanda that I think has really helped grounded him, and they've kind of figured that part out. I'm really happy that my boy has been able to figure that out and get himself week in and week out, highs and lows, like, locked in. But I mean, for me, I've never really doubted my ability to drive. I've always felt like if I was in comparable equipment to the people around me, that I could compete at a high level. And I played sports in all different sports, and I just knew that I was fine having to outwork people. I might not be the most talented, but one thing I can control is how hard I work.
Yep.
And you might beat me in the end, but you're gonna know who you were competing against during. You know what I mean? And that was always my mentality. So I've never looked across the garage and been like, damn, like, I don't think I belong here. Like, and I think for me too, being able to get off the couch and go compete. And like, I've made 2 snowflakes, which is during the snowball derby weekend.
Dude. I watched that. So get the funny side story. Kenny Wallace on Twitter sent me retweet this and you win a free pass to watch that. I won it, and he sent it to me, and he followed me, and I was like, this is the best day of my life. Like, I got tanked and watched the snowball derby on Kenny Wallace's dime. But That's awesome right there. I just want to specify Snowball Derby to compete against the insanity that is. That's awesome for you to even make the race. I know it's competitive. I mean, people, NASCAR drivers have not made that race. Like Cup drivers have not made that race.
And I'm not gonna say never, but trying to qualify for the Snowball Derby is like trying to qualify for either the Daytona 500 or the back in the day or the Indy 500. Like it's just not like, it's just at a heightened state of like nerve wracking and the whole thing. Like
it's a different atmosphere at those. At the asphalt, those specific races, the atmosphere is totally different when it comes to that type of racing. It's very intense. I mean, everyone is bringing the best equipment they have to that track, and they want to make the show, and that's insane to me.
Yeah, so making the Snowflake, I actually made it with Lee Falk Racing, and I made it with another team before, and being able to compete like that, I think that was all I needed. Because at that point, once I did that, I think that's when everyone realized that I could actually do it.
Yeah.
And then I went and ran the ARCA race at IRP a couple years ago. And then on a national scale, it showed that I could also do it. So I've had enough moments to where like, no, I can do it. I just need to get behind the wheel more. And so, we try to do that every once in a while.
100%. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear a little background on how all that went up. I love hearing about how people grew up and the path they took to get to where they are. And it really leads into more what I want to know about is what are kind of some of your favorite aspects of being the chief hype officer of NASCAR, doing driver introductions, doing all that fun stuff that gets the people and fans engaged. And how has that translated into just the collaborating with Kevin Harvick and all this other stuff that's blossomed? And you said worked at SHR before. Did that kind of help with the pairing with Kevin to do the current podcast you guys are working on?
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite thing is just giving people a really good experience. Our sport, you got to go to it to understand it.
Yes.
And I've tried to explain that to people all the time. We're an experience. You got to go feel it and be a part of it, and then you understand what the sport is. And so for me, doing that and giving people that joy, a lot of people, since I started doing driver intros, like when I'm getting off stage, they'll stop and be like, "Man, that was awesome," and this, that, and the other. And I appreciate that because I'm trying to make it awesome for them.
Yeah.
Like literally, like driver intros isn't on TV. Like it's only right there.
I wish it was with the way you do it. I wish they did it, and then they only do it at like Bristol or something like that. And then I don't even think they let you do that one. If I remember.
I don't. Yeah, I don't do I do some SMI tracks.
Okay.
I do New Hampshire. New Hampshire's called me the last 2 years, and that's home, so that's cool.
Always wanted to go there just because. I don't know why. New Hampshire's always impressed me. It's always
that place
fun
is
track.
awesome.
I love that they do they do a whole slew of racing there on that weekend too. I mean, it's such a cool track to have that you can race so many different classes on.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great up there. I love being from there. And then I mean, I always wanted to drive. I was always I admired Kevin and Delana Harvick so much as a kid.
That's awesome.
And then I always wanted to drive for KHI. Like that was like one of the teams I remember
watching them grow up. Is after he got mad at RCR and said, "I'm out of here."
So when he showed up at Sierra Haas, it was pretty cool, and like it kind of re-energized our building because that was coming off the year that Tony got hurt, and then Newman was leaving. And like, there's just some things that were changing in the company.
A lot of weird vibe, probably that was just a lot of change and things.
Yeah, it just really like, and we knew how hungry Kevin was to get a championship, and just Rodney Childers and Cheddar Smith and the group that they built over there, and Dale Fishline, just the whole group that they built was really locked in 2014, and that just really did start the relationship with me and Kevin and Delana. And then I was racing at the same time, so they were kind of keeping tabs on my racing at the same time they were doing their thing, and then I've been talking with Fox for a little while about doing some stuff, and we've done a couple projects together, but nothing serious.
Yeah.
And then I got like a text message at like 8:30 at night asking if I would be on a pack.
Isn't that
If
the
I would be on a
craziest
podcast.
feeling? Like
Yeah.
when someone's just like, "Yeah, sure. Do you want to do this?" You're like, "I wasn't ready for this moment. I
I
didn't
was
know this
like,
was gonna happen."
I'm like one eye looking at it like with who? With
the
who?
the
With
Ricky
Kevin.
Bobby. I don't know what to
I'm
do.
like, yeah, for sure. And they're like, all right, cool. We'll talk to you soon about it.
That's
And like
awesome.
another week and a
Did you
half
think
went
it
by
wasn't real?
before.
Like you got that text, you didn't hear anything back, and you were like, "They're kidding. That was fake. That was like."
Well, no, but like, but like you, it's important not to let the highs
Oh
be
yeah.
too high.
Yep.
And like,
yes.
So until like it's done, it's like it's like all right, cool. Like we're in the running for this thing, but like, but we then it went like a week or two without knowing anything, and then our producers and Fox Digital came out to Charlotte, and like so I met them on like a Tuesday or something, and a conversation that was supposed to take 30 minutes ended up taking 2 hours, and like
that's always
it was
good.
pretty much
usually good in that situation. You usually want to be there for a long time when it's an offer type situation.
Yeah, we were just bullshitting me. I was just telling
That's
them about
awesome.
the sport. I didn't know
when it feels right
on.
and when it goes that long and it feels right, that even gives you a little more confidence in the longevity of it, that you're going to be welcomed there and it's going to be a good project to work on with those specific people, you know.
Yeah, and I think originally it was going to be me and Kevin, and then they added Caitlin in there, and it just made it just solidified it.
Yeah.
Like Caitlin Vincey is oops, am I still here?
Yep, you're here.
Okay, cool. My phone just did something.
You're good.
Caitlin Vincey is a savant to the craft of the hosting craft, and like she's so good, and like she just makes it our job so much easier to where we don't have to think about transitioning from one topic to another.
Yeah.
We just get to rip and have fun and talk shit, and she's like trying to keep us on the rails, and Kevin and I are like trying to get off into the weeds, and it's just like the whole dynamic of the show is great. We have so many great people on it, so it's going great.
I was listening to episodes recently, and that was kind of the thing I picked up on. It was the vibe and the flow and how you guys bounce off each other really well. And like you said, she keeps you under control, because Kevin's he's a fiery guy. Him and Clint in the booth are probably one of my favorite things ever. As the Fox broadcast goes, just because they'll rip on each other, and I love when Kevin throws one-liner out and it's silent, because Clint's just sitting there chewing on it, just figuring out what he's gonna.
It's great.
To work with personalities like that, it's really cool to see out there, because I think it matches your personality a lot, and how what you bring to the table needs to be, when you match energies like that, it creates something really cool. And it's more content being put out for the people that may not know what NASCAR is or anything like that. And I think you're a huge part of making sure that the growth continues. And with that, with the growth type of environment, do you notice more and more of your friends, family, people that are close to you getting more engaged with NASCAR now that you have such a position in the sport, versus when you were a kid? Because growing up, I had trouble finding NASCAR friends. I still do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me into doing what I'm doing here. And I mean, we met at MIS last year. I went by myself. That's what I do. I go to races by myself if I have to.
Yeah.
And I meet friends, and I make friends, and I get on top of buses and all that type of stuff. But do you notice more people around you liking NASCAR more because you're involved with it?
Yeah, I mean, like I have a whole friend group that's outside of the industry that's in Charlotte, right? And when I met them, I wasn't working in NASCAR like I am now. Like I am now. When I met them, I was doing different type of events with another buddy in the friend group, and we were working for Ferrari and working for Dodge and doing this other stuff.
Yeah.
So they knew me as like a Ferrari guy.
Yeah.
So, and they knew I raced here and there.
Dude, you went from not reading a tape measure to working for Ferrari and Venturini and like all these other big names and different levels of the sport, dude. What the heck?
So they, and now we do this thing called NASCAR Sundays. So every Sunday, now obviously I'm not home every Sunday. This Sunday I will be, but we go bar hopping. And we make sure that the TV has the NASCAR race.
People, let's go.
Yeah. It started with like 5 of us, and then we got up to like 10, and now there's like 15, and now people text me and like, why didn't you invite me to NASCAR Sundays? I'm like, I geotagged where we're at. Like, just pull up.
That's
like,
at this point, it's just like you just pin drop it.
That's it. Like I let people know ahead of time where we're headed, pin drop it, and like come on with it, and
and it's that popular.
We have fun.
Can't just we got email lists, BCC everybody,
I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Just if you want to come have a good time, you know where to find me.
Oh, that is so funny. So wrapping this up here, I wanted to I had a personal thing that I needed to ask you, and you got to take this back to Kevin, and if you can give me an answer, let me know. So back in about, I think 2019, he won at MIS, and I got very drunk off like lemonade vodka mix it was a big jug that was duct taped. It was fantastic. So I ended up waiting till 8 or 9 or something like that to leave the track. So by the time I left, if anyone's not familiar with MIS, Michigan International Speedway, the tunnels go out turn 1, underneath of turn 1. So I was in the infield all day. I walked out, and outside of turn 1's tunnels is Brooklyn Highway. Brooklyn Highway has a pedestrian bridge, or you can walk underneath of it. Now, I think I sobered myself up enough to leave. I will not comment on that further, but I will say I went to walk across Brooklyn Highway, and a golf cart zoomed past me, almost hitting me. And when I turned and looked up, I swear to my mom, I saw Kevin and Keelan on the back of that golf cart flying down Brooklyn Highway. And I said, hi, and they yelled hi back. So for my own validation, if you can present that story to him, I would love to know if that was actually.
I will ask him. I will ask him if he remembers running over a drunk pedestrian.
Almost running over
MIS.
A sobering pedestrian.
Oh, a sobering pedestrian. Copy.
I won't confirm or deny whether or not I may have stayed in the truck for a little while longer as well. So
listen, kids. Take your time. Don't drive.
There's a statute of limitations on that, right? I guess. I don't know. We'll say that. But anyways, Mamba, I appreciate you taking the time for me today. Was there anything you wanted to plug? Anybody you wanted to mention at the end of this, just to shout out or anything like that? Tell us what you're doing, what's going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, we got NASCAR Sundays crew. Shout out to the boys and girls that come out and have a good time with us. My parents, we talked about it off screen, like they sacrificed so much for my life. Of their life for me to have an opportunity at this life. So them, and then Tim Clark, who's the real reason why I've even started down this digital path. He gave me an opportunity on a show that we had called Backseat Drivers, and it's just kind of blown up from there. And I'm excited to be here. I love NASCAR. I love motorsports. I want to see it thrive and be as best as it can be. And I'm just trying to leave it here in a better place than I found it. And if we don't do that, we're at least gonna have a lot of fun trying. So and shout out to 47. I got this new.
I saw that. I saw the promo pack came in.
Yeah. We got the new swag. So make sure you go to 47. brand.com and get some NASCAR swag and everything else there.
Yes, sir. Where can people find you on Twitter? What's the handle?
Hey, you can find me on every single one of my socials is Mamba Smith 34.
This has been the Spare Room Podcast, brought to you by Seriously Fast Motorsports. I want to thank our guest today, Mamba Smith, and our sponsor of this podcast, iFantasyRace.com. Gain access to premier content with their subscription service and take your fantasy racing game to the next level. Visit iFantasyRace today and start winning with confidence. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.